Hello there, it's Corey Michael Sanchez here, one of the founders of Mojo Global, and I have another amazing Mojo success story with none other than Arnie Fonseca, and he's going to really show us what he's doing on LinkedIn. So, Arnie, thanks for joining here, really appreciate it. And got a quick question here. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Thanks, Corey. I appreciate the opportunity. I am a coach and mentor, and my former background as a brain and spinal cord rehab specialist has kind of given me a head start into being a coach and a mentor to a lot of folks. And if any of you check me out on LinkedIn, uh, I am inspired by those that are inspired to challenge the status quo. I've always done that my whole life, Corey. Look for just a way to flip things over and look at them differently. And for many, it makes people uncomfortable, but for me, it's been just the pathway to my success.
Love it. And you know, what you do is really, it's really important. It's really impacting. And we're firm believers that the kind of work that you do, it needs to get out there, right? And so you heard about us, Mojo, and we actually go back a long way. It's funny, we were touching base, and I knew Arnie about a decade ago, right, when we were first getting started with Mojo. And here we are a decade later, and he got into one of our programs and is now using LinkedIn in order to build networks, right, build connections, build relationships. So Arnie, tell us a little bit about what attracted you to Mojo, and tell us a little bit about the results that have happened since.
All right, real quick. I had hired a coach, and we were building a men's business because that's being a guy. I was getting a lot of clients that were really struggling. A lot of men are today. And then a couple months into our program, he said, "Hey, Arnie, I want you to go into LinkedIn, and I want you to start to connect with your network," which I hadn't really been doing at all for years. And he goes, so I said, okay. And also then I got the idea, and then he sent me over a thing that he was doing just manually, where he was inviting people that were to be new connections as well. So I was doing both. I was reconnecting and connecting with new connections. And then probably a week or two later, one of your guys, I'll mention his name, Victor Fox, connected with me. And we had a conversation. He was telling me about your program. I thought, man, that would be a lot easier than what I'm doing right now, because it was time consuming. All social media, especially for some of us older guys, is a little time consuming because we're learning it. And he showed me, and he was so wonderful. I just want to tell you that. He has been one of the best coaches I've ever had. He is so kind and gentle and thoughtful. Wonderful teachers, spirit about him. Very good. And so he walked me through the program, and then I was convinced that this was something that could really help my business. Obviously, Corey, like all of us out here, we're all hustling. We all want customers, but sometimes God has a different plan for us. And so, yeah, have I got a few customers? Sure. But what I started to notice, that I was being introduced to some really neat people around the United States and the world. And because one of the things that I am least attracted to is somebody on the first phone call that's pitching me. And so I was having to kind of tweak my message, and just wanted to have a conversation with people. Just wanted to kind of what I call bump people, get to know them, make a friend, earn their trust.
Nice.
And because of that, Corey, I started to meet these really amazing people. I mean, really amazing people. And so what happened then, and I'll just continue with the story here, in the fall, I've been with you guys for about 3 months, and I just got back from my daughter's wedding, and I had an epiphany.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, she got married in California. It's beautiful. Nice. And I had an epiphany. I had an idea. And so I ran it past one of the guys that I was coaching that I met on LinkedIn through this program. And he goes, Arnie, that's a great idea. And he started to run with it. And then about a week later, I met somebody else through a LinkedIn connection through the program who was in San Diego. And he goes, Arnie, it's a great that's a great idea. And then the other guy met some people that he had on LinkedIn. And then another guy I met through the program in the summer who we, just became friends. I connected him with my tech guy, okay, who now, as of last week, was looking into getting us funding. Number two, the other guy I met, he is on the board of a think tank in San Diego.
Wow.
Who hoping to get us, he's on the board. So I said, do these things and we'll fast track this thing. We'll get you to do your pitch in front of the board. And he goes, I don't see any reason why. He's on the team. I mean, he goes, I don't see any reason why we can't have you guys in the program by sometime this spring.
Wow. That's awesome.
This is huge, dude. This is off the charts.
Wow.
Way beyond what I thought a handful of customers would get me.
That's
this
amazing.
Is life-changing. This is life-changing. And I'll be honest with you, Corey, the first few weeks, I wasn't really talking much about it with people, a little bit here and there, because I didn't want to get my hopes way up that high yet. But as more and more people, we brought a guy in through my LinkedIn who was a mentor to Steve Jobs in the 80s.
Wow.
Apple, a mentor.
That's amazing.
I'm on a phone call with these guys, right?
Yeah.
Another guy who's, Harvard, master's degree from Harvard, public health, PhD, taught at ASU, taught at universities all over the country on health and all these different aspects, because that's one of the areas, that's kind of the area that we're into a little bit. And just amazing people. And I had to pinch myself. Am I really on a phone call with all these guys? And all because of LinkedIn.
Love it.
And, which is mind-boggling, right? But like you and I were discussing earlier, it's not always, God sometimes has a different path for us. It's not always the straight line. It might be a little curve in there, but as you said, and as many successful people in history have learned, you got to persevere and hang in there a little bit. Because if we don't, there was a wonderful book written many years ago, 3 Feet from Gold. And
yep, love the book. Yep.
It's a true story where the guy gave up, literally sold his equipment, and 3 days later, or a couple days later, the guy hit the largest gold strike in Colorado. Right?
Yep.
An amazing story, but it's true. But we all do that. I was listening to a guy the other day, and he said, when you get to heaven one day, God may tell you, Arnie, if you just would have stayed, you quit on April the 10th. If you would have stayed to the 17th, it was all going to happen for you, man.
Love it.
And there's a lot to that, because especially today with the young guys and the young folks, patience is not one of their cups of teas, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's social media, because everything happens so fast, or it looks like it happens fast on social media. But they don't understand how all the work, like look at you and Ira have done with Mojo. All the years you guys have persevered and put into this thing.
Oh, yeah. Going on a decade now. Yep.
I know. People don't get that, do they?
No.
They don't understand, man. It takes years and years to build these things. And then all of a sudden, oh, man, yeah, but look at you guys. I go, dude, you don't get it. Just like when I opened my clinics, people didn't understand that I went, 20 years as a school teacher and a coach and putting up with just crazy stuff in my life to get there.
What I love is, you've got, and thank you for sharing all that. What I love is you're very inspiring. It's, you're telling a success story about how you took LinkedIn and really build relationships with it and made it not transactional, right? Made it, really very, very much relational. And that's huge. And I love that you've done that. And that's, I think, one element that a lot of people have kind of missed when it comes to LinkedIn, about the tremendous power of it. I mean, you can reach out to people that you normally otherwise wouldn't give you the time of day anywhere else, right?
Right.
But when you get connected to them on LinkedIn, it's just a different story. So I love that you've been able to do it to really expand your network, but in a quality way, to talk and have quality conversations with really high level people.
It's one of the things that, I pray about it. And I think, if this happens, obviously one of the first people I'm going to thank is my coach, who I'm no longer working with right now, just for some other issues. But, I'm thinking, man, I will fly up there. I will knock on his door and I will give him the biggest hug and kiss that he can imagine, because he's the one that said, get on LinkedIn.
I love
Okay?
it.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's fabulous.
Corey, it wouldn't have happened if he didn't say that to me that day, and I wasn't open to being coached. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. And then because I did that, I met Victor, who showed me something that was pretty simple. And because even if I went on LinkedIn and was looking for connections, how the heck was I going to find that guy in San Diego, or that kid, some young savant here in Phoenix that was a tech wonder? How am I going to find those guys?
Yeah, it's very hard to do. Super
Your
hard.
program did, though. How's that?
Yeah, yeah, love it. Love
Yeah.
it. So Arnie, yeah, so tell me, so moving, so you've had a lot of really inspiring meetings with a lot of high level entrepreneurs, right? Used it, you've gotten some really great clients out of it.
Yeah.
So moving forward, what are you anticipating happening in this upcoming year from what you're doing here on LinkedIn with our strategies?
Well, I'm going to continue to build relationships with people all over the country, all over the world. Um, my goal, as I was talking to my team yesterday, my goal is to get to a point where I can be like Corey Sanchez and just be remote, so that I can not travel around as much as I do now with some of the consulting stuff I do with older people. I love it, but driving the freeways during the day is not my cup of tea. I mean,
Right.
but I love the people.
Yeah.
But I also need more time to focus on what we're developing right now.
Yeah, totally.
So the goal here is to continue to build quality relationships with people that that I can help remotely, and that I can that will allow me the freedom, the option to be able to travel to, whether it's San Diego, where we're going to be probably located at least for a couple years, when we get into Evo Nexus. And then from there, I have no idea where it's going to go, but I need some flexibility in my schedule to be able to do stuff like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, LinkedIn, you can accomplish so much because with the power of LinkedIn, I mean, we used to, and you met us back in the day when we were networking heavily,
Oh yeah.
right? Going to a ton of networking events and, meeting people one to one and having a good time with it, but it comes to a point where it really burns you out. And had we not discovered LinkedIn, we probably would have gotten burnt out. And having it allows us to, I'm lucky enough to where I'm on this really kind of like dream that I've always wanted to do. I'm spending a month in different countries around the world. This is my month 10, so I'm in Manila right now. And this would never have been possible had my entire business and the money I make is relative to my geography. And so I'm really excited to see what happens for you, Arnie, as you keep building that network and diving deeper into LinkedIn.
Well, your story inspires me. I listened to another great podcast by another gentleman who's doing something similar as you are right now with his wife. They're moving to Hawaii. Another family called the Bucket List Family, that I listened to their podcast, and that inspired me to do these things. And that is my goal with my wife and I, to be able to do what you're doing and travel around the world and still be able to work on my business, and especially with the technology we have today, that's only going to get better. And really, and live life. And that's why whether you're my age or your age or a young 20, 21-year-old, it's all
Mm.
possible, but you got to hang in there. You got to
Yeah.
persevere. You got to be willing to get knocked around a little bit.
Hmm.
But you got to have a dream, and you got to be inspired. Now, it's not for everybody, this whole entrepreneurship thing, and everybody loves to call themselves an entrepreneur until they get knocked around. But, if you're willing to get out there, Corey, as you and Ira were, and I've done my whole life with everything from different kind of exercise, nutrition stuff that, it seems like, God, why am I always felt like I was on an island somewhere, Corey, because I had these crazy ideas that just seemed nuts. But you know what? Then, a couple of years later, everybody was doing it. It's like, man, why didn't I, follow through with it or stay on it? But this is before the internet was developed. So now it's just,
And
if you're willing, if you can solve a problem for somebody and you're inspired to challenge, not be afraid of challenging what I call the status quo.
mhm.
And that takes guts, man. It takes guts because everybody's going to tell you not to do it. And, but if you can hang in there like you guys have done, you can really make a difference.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey, thank you so much, Arnie. I really appreciate it. Very inspiring, amazing case study. Basically, using LinkedIn to create his own community of like-minded people
Yep.
makes the world smaller than it really is, right? So it's like LinkedIn has 560 million people, but you can use it to really hone in that kind of community that, like that you really get along with. So yeah, great job getting in there, Arnie, and you're very inspiring. And so our hope is that you will listen to a story like Arnie and take up the challenge and finally use LinkedIn to really build those relationships. And even when it seems like it's a little bit tough, stick with it because success is just on the other side of that. So thank you, Arnie, for sharing. Any last words for folks that are listening in?
No, just I appreciate you, Corey, and Ira, and Mojo, and your team, Victor, and I just met a new guy in your team, George, who he's a blessing as well. So thank you guys for being patient and for doing what you're doing, and I just appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Arnie. Well, we're here for you, and we're in your corner, and just like we are for all of our clients, because we come from a place where we've been there. We know where you're at. We know what it's like to struggle to get business, and so that's why we do what we do because it works and because it provides. Sometimes it's the ultimate difference maker. So thank you again, Arnie. Thanks for sharing. And for those of you that are listening, if you want to hear more, then take a look. We have some amazing resources at mojoglobal.com and look forward to you being our next case study and success story. Thanks for listening.